is Chef Logan Broyles. I'm here with Whole Health Every Day. We offer in-home meal prep services for people that are looking to eat healthier, follow certain specific diets and health restrictions, and also we offer cooking lessons and event catering for events of up to 200 people. So we have 15 chefs in Arizona and Southern California. Please go ahead and look us up online, check our website. You can find a blog, some recipes, and more information on the services that we provide. So for today, I'm going to be doing a perfect pan-seared salmon. We'll go ahead and take this piece. This is obviously a pretty large piece. We're going to cut it into, what we're going to do first, we're going to remove the skin from one side, leave the skin on the other side. That way we can show you kind of both ways to pan-sear that, get a good crispy skin, also get a nice crisp sear on the skin-off piece as well. So just as far as equipment, I have my knife, a large spoon, metal spoon for basting. You can have something smaller than this, but the larger the better. We're going to work on that technique as well as far as how to baste the fish with butter once it comes out of the oven. I've also got a fish spatula, a squeeze bottle with a mix of extra virgin olive oil and some grapeseed oil. So those are two of the healthiest oils you can use. You don't want to use olive oil by itself. It has one of the lower smoke points of any other oil. So it's going to erupt and burst into flames at a lower temperature. If you mix it with grapeseed oil, you can cook with it at high heat and still get the flavor of the olive oil and the health benefits, but not have to worry about it smoking or erupting on you. And then we'll just go ahead and have some fresh spinach that we'll go ahead and mix in there at the end. So I've got my oven preheating to 500 degrees. Now keep in mind, depending on the size of the piece of the fish you're using, this one's pretty thick. So this we're definitely going to want to use an oven. Now, if you had a thinner piece of fish, you might be able to get away with just using the pan and just pan-searing it, and that'll be enough for it to cook. So I've got my pan heating up. We're going to go ahead and kind of go to medium and then go a little bit higher than that, so medium to high heat. You want to leave your salmon sitting out for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Let it get to room temperature. That way the inside isn't cold when you're cooking it. Anytime you're taking any meat out, you want to give it at least 10 or 15 minutes at room temperature so that the inside cooks evenly. You don't want it to kind of dry out on the outside while it's still undercooked on the inside. You want to think about how you're going to make that cook as evenly as possible. You're also just going to grab a paper towel, pat it dry. Make sure there's no excess water on the outside. It's going to help you get a nice even sear if there's no water on it. Like I said, we'll go ahead and we'll take this piece. We're going to cut that right down the middle into two nice even pieces. Right down the middle along the spine right there. Salmon is nice. You don't really have to worry much about bones or anything like that. Not too scaly either. Go ahead and get a nice portion like that. It's probably about a 6-ounce portion right there. We'll keep the skin on that one. We got this one that we're going to go ahead and take the skin off of. So you want to kind of cut your knife down at a slight downward angle as you're dragging along the skin and separating the meat from the skin. You're going to start in the corner, start along one edge. See, this particular piece, the skin's already coming off. It's already doing the work for me. So what I'm going to do, you're kind of, as you're cutting, you're going at a downward angle along it with your knife, and you're just separating that meat from that skin. You can almost do it by hand. Just a slight downward angle. That way you're not losing any excess of the fish. There we go. You just got a little bit of the brown. You can clean that off just slightly, but there's no excess skin. On the flip side, you look at the skin, you're not really losing any meat there, right? That was a very clean cut. Really didn't lose much meat on there at all. That we can go ahead and throw away. So again, just making sure everything's nice and patted dry. We'll add some oil to my pan. did about 2 tablespoons of oil right there. I want at least enough to cover the bottom of the pan, but it's okay if you have a little extra. Go ahead and turn that down. You can tell it's obviously hot enough, but what you're looking for, as you move the oil across the pan, you can't really see it in the camera, but you'll see ripples in the oil, and that's how you know it's hot enough. Some people will tell you to wait till it starts smoking, but you don't like to get it to that point. That means it's about to erupt on you. You got a nice pinch of salt. Whenever you're seasoning, make sure you're always holding your arm nice and high up. Think of it like snowflakes that are falling and spreading. You want them to spread. Alright? If you're too close, it's going to clump up all in one spot. You're going to have salty bites and other bites that aren't well seasoned. Instead, we're going to get nice, even seasoning all across it. Get the other piece as well. Something you want to be mindful of is which side is going to be your presentation side. Which side do you want to get the sear on? Now obviously skin side is going to be the sear, the presentation side for this piece. For this one, we're going to go to the same spot where the skin was. That side is a lot more flat. So where the skin was, where we just took it off, is going to be flatter. On the other side, it's more rounded. It's going to be hard to get an even sear if it's not flat. Alright. Pan's nice and hot, but not too hot. You can always turn it down once you get it to that nice temperature range. See lots of ripples in my oil. You always want to lay the fish on the side closest to you and then away from you. That way if you drop it, it's going to splash the oil away from you. I like to give it a slight tilt too, that way the oil kind of collects on the far side of the pan. I'm just going to gently lower that down. And what I'm going to do is spread my fingers across it, evenly push down. That way you're getting that nice initial sear. This is very important. Don't be scared to hold your hand there and get it in there. Like I said, I've got the pan tilted so the oil is away from me. You really want to press it down and make sure you get a nice even sear. That way it's not patchy. I'll put this piece as well. Go ahead and press it down. Like it a little warm, but don't be scared. These are 2 large pieces of fish that are in one kind of medium-sized pan, so definitely make sure they got a little space between them. As you move it around, it's okay to move it around, that way you'll get a better sear as well. If there's any water on there, the water bubbles are going to kind of make it an uneven sear, so you move it around and get rid of those. And this way you got some space between the 2 pieces of fish. Now, I have my oven at 500 degrees, so I like it hot and fast and make this demo go a little faster. Feel free to do your oven at 350, 400, it's just going to take a few more minutes. But at this temperature at 500, it'll be about 5 minutes or so. 5 to 7, I would think. We'll go ahead and throw that in the oven. A very key note. You saw me just rinse my hand off. This towel was a little bit damp, but that was okay because the pan wasn't hot. When I pull that out of the oven, it's very important that whatever you use is totally dry. I've got my oven mitts right here. They're totally dry. It's because water is a heat conductor. So if your towel is even a little bit damp, and then 5 minutes from now I grab that hot pan, that hot towel is going to burn a whole lot more because it's hot and because it's got the water on it. So be very mindful of that. Always dry towels. Alrighty, while that's going, just going to give my spinach a quick rinse. Some nice fresh organic spinach, just a nice way to top it off. This is going to be a very simple little salmon dish that we put together. Nothing too crazy on the sides, more just wanted to focus on the technique and how to get that nice sear. And then once we pull it out, we'll show you how to baste it. Let's go ahead and rinse this off. Make sure you're always rinsing your produce real good, especially given the current time. that's going, got a squash zucchini right here. I've got a mandolin. You can do this by hand if you need to, but mandolin definitely comes in handy. So we're just going to slice some nice thin rings out of the squash. And we're not even going to cook it. You know, raw, thin sliced squash is really good with cooked fish. Kind of just get it how wide you want it to go. Squash. We'll do a couple to test it out. Maybe do just a hair thinner than that. Some nice thin shaved squash. That'll go great with the fish at the end once everything's all ready. So I have my thermometer right here. What you're looking for with salmon is going to be an internal temperature of 145 degrees. Never hurts to check the temperature on your meat. So we'll go ahead and take a look, just see how we're doing. Pull that out. Now, if you wanted it to just cook all the way through, you could just let it go in the oven. Because I'm going to baste it, that's going to help me cook it through more. So I don't need it all the way cooked through from the oven just then. That was probably about 3 minutes in the oven. So to baste it, you're going to go ahead and take some butter. About 2 tablespoons worth. And you can always do a little less if you want to. For the sake of this demo, it makes it a little easier for me. The more butter I have, the more liquid in there, the easier it is for you to see what I'm doing. So you got it back on the stove with it on medium heat. Go ahead and let that butter melt real good. Be very gentle moving the fish. You don't want to lose that skin. But what you want to do is move the fish up to the far side of the pan while that butter is melting. Once that butter is all melted, take your large basting spoon. So you essentially want to hold it like you're holding a pencil, right? I'm going to come at it from the side. I'm scooping over and over again, just getting butter showering over it. Really coating it with the warm butter. That's going to help the fish cook, and it's also going to give it all sorts of flavor, make it nice and juicy. Go ahead and get that temp even a little higher up. So I got both pieces, but I'm just going to focus on one piece at a time. Okay? Don't try and make it hard. Don't try and get the entire thing. Focus on one piece. And you're really just coating it with butter. This is where the extra butter and the big spoon comes in handy, but you can certainly do it with a smaller spoon. And a lot of it's just repetition. So see, I have the fish away from me. I have the pan tilted down so the butter's collecting down here. I have it over heat. I want that butter hot, so I've got the heat on. It's on medium. And I'm just showering that nice warm butter all over it. Okay. Go ahead and switch sides. You don't have to move it, but I like to move it over. It tends to be easier to have it in the same spot I was just doing it. Do the other piece. Now, if you wanted to add some herbs in here, maybe some rosemary, some thyme, some oregano, it's not a bad idea. You would just throw it in there at the same time as the butter. That way, as the butter's melting, the herbs kind of marry their flavors in there with the butter. Alright. Now you notice this entire time I've never flipped the fish from the original sear. I really want to get that one presentation side with a nice golden sear on it. Get that skin side really crispy on the one piece that has skin on it. But at this point we're about done. You can briefly flip them. Just kind of give them a kiss on the other side for maybe 30 seconds with the heat on. And then you can baste that presentation side a little bit. Remember to be very careful. This pan is still hot from the oven. Don't forget that. Don't accidentally grab it with your bare hands after you set your towel to the side. Alright. Go ahead and baste the other side as well. Go ahead and turn that heat off and let that rest for a second. Alright, so taking our fish spatula, remove the fish. We'll go ahead and put it on a plate with some paper towels. Just give it a chance to kind of cool down a little. It's not getting cold, but anytime you cook meat, you want to let it sit for at least 2 minutes or so. Especially red meat, that way it'll soak its juices back in. Pour that butter back over a little bit. What we'll do is go ahead and get rid of that excess fat. Also any solid bits of salmon in there. We don't want those because now we're going to throw the salmon, or the spinach in this same pan. Just take some of those excess bits out. You can see nice, beautiful seared salmon. Got a nice crispy skin on this piece. And a nice, beautiful golden brown on that one. We're just going to let those sit for a minute. So we poured the excess fat out, but you're still going to have a little bit in here. That's all you need. Go ahead and turn it back on the medium. Now it's time for our spinach. Obviously this looks like a lot of spinach, but spinach is going to shrink down quite a bit as you cook it. And the general rule is you lay spinach out, kind of season it by layers. So first you're going to cover the bottom of the pan with however much spinach that takes. Lightly season that with a little bit of salt. As that cooks down, shrinks quite a bit, add another layer, add some more seasoning until we cook this whole bowl. Now it's totally up to you how far you want to cook your spinach. If you want to just lightly wilt it or if you want to cook it all the way through, it's totally fine either way. One thing to keep in mind is spinach has a lot of water in it. So as it's cooking and shrinking down, we can actually squeeze the water out. We'll kind of press it into the pan and tilt it and squeeze the water out. You don't want your plate covered in all sorts of water. As it's shrinking up a little bit, we'll add some more. Season it lightly. Why do you want to season it lightly? Because you keep seasoning as you go. You don't want it to be crazy amount of salt in there. You want to make sure the salt's evenly seasoned throughout, but you're not doing too much salt for the entire batch of spinach. Mix it up a little, let it wilt down. Next layer of spinach. Light season. Obviously don't use any bruised or heavily wilted pieces. That does not take much time to cook. Definitely don't want to walk away from it. You also want to be mindful of mixing it up and getting the bottom layer up to the top and the top layer back down there. That way the spinach on bottom doesn't overcook, while the spinach on top still isn't cooking. Remember what I said about the water? You can literally squeeze it out of the spinach. Probably can't see it in the camera, but there's a whole lot of water collecting down here. That's totally fine. You still don't want it on your plate. It's just part of how the plant is. It soaks up a lot of water. You just want to be mindful of that when you're plating. Nobody likes a plate with running water all over it. Just pile some of that in the middle of our plate. Basically got 2 portions of spinach. I'm just going to portion one out and show you one plate. In general, when you're plating, you're always going to pile nice and high towards the middle of the plate. You kind of always want your protein to be center stage, so you always want to put that on top. So remember our shaved squash. Go ahead and just lay out a bed of that. Kind of just playing around with it, having fun. We're going to put our salmon on there. Pile it right in the middle. Like I said, you want your protein to be kind of the center stage. You want to take a little bit of olive oil, drizzle it on there. That's totally fine. Could even do some fresh cracked pepper. I think it's good like that. If you want to add some tartar sauce. Sorry. There you go. Beautiful golden pan-seared salmon. That's the skin off. Skin on is going to be nice and crispy. And when you serve the skin, you're always going to serve it with the skin tied up so people can see it. That nice crispness in there. Alright guys, well, that's my video for you today. Hopefully you learned some things and enjoyed what you saw here today. Definitely check back at our YouTube channel and our website for more information. And look into our services that we provide. We'd love to cater your events, do some more online cooking classes for you. We do Zoom classes, Facebook Live events, or of course our main service is we do in-home meal prep for people with special dietary needs, health issues, or anyone that wants to eat healthier. Alright guys, I'm Chef Logan with Whole Health Every Day. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.